Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk Beede baseball basics, and I'm really excited. Uh, this is someone I'm going to introduce you to that I met uh, the the way the vast majority of parents and I meet, which is through social media and whether it's through a video or a post of some kind. But the questions always come generally from parents of student athletes that are 12, I say 11 to 14, 11 to 15. They're leaving the elementary school and heading to the middle school environment. So, Mark Lonigan and I have worked together. We are co partners within Beede Baseball, Coach Beede Baseball. But the interesting part of our relationship is that it began because Mark had a strong desire to help his son, who has a strong passion for the sport of baseball. And, Mark, before you and I get into this, I really want to kind of create a scenario for parents. Cole, Little League, doesn't make an all-star team, a little bit down and out. At that time, he was playing travel baseball at 11 and 12 as well as Little League. But first and foremost, thank you for coming on today and talking with me. But second, I would love for you to introduce how you and I first started to get together and how old your son Cole was when you and I first started talking.
Sure. So I had heard you on a podcast and bought your book, reached out to you, and I've been frank about this. I was looking for an edge. My kid loves baseball, and I think like a lot of parents who reach out to you is how do I make my kid better right now? Right? Very kind of feedback driven. I am very kind of feedback driven and outcome driven and wanted that change right away. How do I get my kid better at baseball? And you were talking about the process, and it was really, maybe I'm getting off track here, but I think about like a 3 or 4 month re-education process of you, and you were working with Butch at the time as well, really setting me straight on this is about the process isn't about an outcome. The process is about enjoying the journey. The process is about letting your kid have fun and grow and develop in their own way in baseball. Um, and um, yeah, he played travel ball at 11 and 12. In our town, it's a baseball crazy town. Um, and here in central Massachusetts, we have probably 6, 7 travel orgs within a 10 or 15 mile radius with teams that multiple teams at multiple age groups. Everybody's doing travel ball, and you feel like you're falling behind if you're not. And you really showed us, hey, you can have a different path that allows you to have more fun, that isn't as taxing on the kid or on the family, um, and lets them develop at their own pace and just engage with the sport in their own way, just doing the at-home skill set development.
So I think it's important for parents to understand when your sons or daughters are hitting that age of 11 or 12, the peer interaction begins to really, get into the minds of the younger student athletes, and they want to keep up. They
Mhm.
see others that are, considered to be all stars. They have some measure of success. They don't want to be left behind. So, as it was with Cole, we talked briefly. I was able to talk with Cole. Let's start there. Talk about my
Yeah,
interactions with Cole as an 11 or 12-year-old and what kind of impact they had at the time with Cole.
sure. I remember the first meeting actually sitting right here in front of the computer, and it was, who's your favorite player? Are you a Red Sox fan? Um, just getting to know him, just gauging his love of the sport. And, he started talking about Red Sox and then Ronald Acuna Jr. I think he mentioned some White Sox players at that
Right.
meet. And yeah, and you were smiling just like that, like, oh, okay, this kid actually does like baseball and watch baseball. And as that spring went on. So that was when he was 12, and he had his whole, little league season, his travel ball season. Like you said, towards the end, he got frustrated. He went 10 games in travel ball without a hit. His confidence dropped off in little league. And that's when, and you'd been interacting with over text with them. You'd come out to the house, just worked with him on hitting, and really his confidence as a hitter, that idea of delivering the ball back to the pitcher, delivering that energy back to the pitcher is just a really simple way that resonated with him, where it's that aggression in the box. And then in June, when he was really down on himself, you had another call with him and you asked the same question: well, who's your favorite player? It was Ronald Acuna Jr. And you went on to talk with him about how the Latin players develop, how it's not travel ball, how it's the free play. They're playing more, but it's less organized. It's not the American model of everything super formal and it's all structured by adults. And like I've told the story before, he got off the call with you and asked me if we had a broomstick he could cut down to the size of his bat. You'd told him, cut it down to 32 inches and just toss up wiffle balls and hit them. Just try to hit them hard. Just toss up wiffle balls and try to hit them hard. He wanted to do that right away. Like, I think that was the first time anybody had ever given him the message that you can do this on your own. You don't have to have an adult there. You don't have to have dad there coaching you. You don't have to have coach there coaching you. You can go do this on your own and learn what it means to hit the ball hard. That was huge for him.
I think we have become the narrative of youth sports has become to get a private coach to kind of rely on their feedback, their lessons, that there's a simple, easy way to get better. And there's a formula that everybody else before you has used. Therefore, you should use that formula. And the formula is travel baseball. And you do this in 30 to 60 minute increments. And then you have lessons that are, fairly regimented on a regular basis. But now I think if parents really take the time to understand, we can do this as young student athletes on our own. But I want you to take to that next step. So Cole is about 12 years old at the time. He takes his broomstick, he gets his wiffle balls, and then he goes out into the backyard. And I can remember vividly the first video that he showed. There was some frustration. There was some swing and misses. Yeah. There were some not really confident swings. But he controlled when he did the repetitions. He controlled the number of repetitions. And he was able to do as many as he wanted for as long as they wanted without anybody telling him how to do it, what to do. He just knew, I'm going to throw the ball up and try to hit the baseball, the wiffle ball.
Exactly. And yeah, frustration is it. But, he has this drive. Cole will often say, like, I want to be good. And this is a very simple way of saying he wants to be a regular starter on whatever team he's playing for, right? He downplays it, right? But there's this drive in him of, I want to be good. And you put him in the driver's seat. You let him know, hey, you're in the driver's seat. And he could control how many reps he got. He controlled how good he got. And it took, he must have spent hours every single day that summer that he was 12 hitting the ball. And he kept on doing it right up until probably like early mid-October. And then he just decided on his own, like, it's fall. I'm going to take a break now. And I think that's the other beauty of it, is nobody is telling him, hey, it's the off season. Nobody is telling him do something else. But the point I do want to hammer home is it took thousands of swings. And it's not easy. It's not. It's not go take a lesson and somebody is going to be a swing mechanic and suddenly your kid knows how to swing a bat. It took thousands and thousands of swings, and it was hard for him.
Well, I think what you're not telling parents is he went from wiffle balls to rocks to lima beans. I mean, this is a young man. So I think the important takeaway here is the repetitions will equal the retention. The confidence will grow because if you're able to hit a lima bean, and there's a line in a movie.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. What?
Well, if you can hit a lima bean with a broomstick, you're going to be able to hit a baseball with a baseball bat. And so Cole took this to an extreme. And the next kind of pivot point for Cole, and we'll stay with the skill set development for the moment. I then said to him, okay, now we're going to do wall ball. And what is wall ball? So you find a wall, you find a tennis ball, a lacrosse ball, a pinky ball, a rubber ball, anything like that, and you're throwing it against the wall, but you're fielding it without a glove, and you're learning how to move your feet. You're learning how to feel the different hops. You're controlling the pace, you're controlling the number. But Cole did this where he would literally wear balls out, like the ball would be, shredding. So the other part of this skill set development, and not just with hitting, but also with fielding and throwing mechanics, Cole did that with the wall ball. And talk a little bit about that as well.
Sure. And that was, I'm going to back up a little bit because, let's see, he was in 7th grade. He tried out for the middle school team. I think he was one of only 1 or 2 kids not doing travel ball who made it through first and second cuts and ended up not making the team that year. He asked coach, what do I need to work on for next year? What should I do better? And coach said fielding. Now, here's the hard thing for me. I knew he wasn't working on his fielding enough, but something you taught me or reminded me is you have to let kids fail. And I had to sit back and say, all right, he only wanted to do hitting to get ready for tryouts because he had been really good at fielding the previous year. And he sort of rested on that. And I had to take a step back and say, you know what? He's only in 7th grade. This is not the end of the world. And he needs to make his own mistakes and learn from his own mistakes. So that's one of the reasons he ended up at that place, whereas you were saying play wall ball. I just had to let him fail and learn that on his own. And he got one of those. I got a whole bunch of those pinky balls that you recommended, because he found the tennis ball just didn't bounce as well off the stairs that are at the top of our driveway. We have some stonework stairs, and went down to the dollar store, got some pinky balls, and like you said, he threw them off those stairs so much that he must have gone through 2 or 3 by the end of the summer. And he had this whole routine where it was, he'd get up in the morning, have breakfast, and grab a Bluetooth speaker, throw some music on, and just throw a ball against the stairs for hours and hours and hours. And our driveway needs to be repaved, so he's getting really bad hops. He's like, they're all over the place. And just reading and reacting to that, and just that repetition, that it's, what do they call it? The repetition without repetition, the variable repetition. When you talk about learning motor skills, it's, this is why this stuff works. When you're tossing a ball up in the air, it's never going in the same place twice. When you're throwing a ball against a flight of stairs, it's never bouncing back at you in the same way every single time. So he's reading and reacting to all of this stuff. And how do you put it? Like, you always talk about getting the eyes and the hands to work together and trust each other. This is what he learned.
Well, I think so these are 2 simple drills. There's a myriad of other drills, but I think the massive takeaway is we have a young man, he's 11 or 12, has a true passion, a grit for the sport of baseball, and he himself makes a decision that I really want to be successful as I begin to enter middle school. And then we now have that decision. The next part of this equation was to leave travel baseball behind and then chart a course with regard to strength training. And when I first brought this to your attention, you and I both happen to live in the same geographical area of the country, Massachusetts, and we have the fortunate ability to be able to go to Cressy Performance. But it was very intimidating for Cole to walk into a weight room or a strength training area with a lot of adults, high level adults within baseball, college, professional, major league, etc. But let's talk about the last 2 years in particular, the transformation from when Cole started and began to have a focus with regard to strength training as a 12-year-old to where he is now, which is on the cusp of attending high school.
Yep. So yeah, he had been doing training at a place down in Milford, and when we left travel ball, we left that place. And that he'd gotten a foundation of movement, but he hadn't really started the lifting, and it was not the same environment as Cressy Sports Performance, right? I mean, that was just a world of difference. You walk in there, and it's high school kids who have aspirations of going to college. At the time of year we started is August, so I think there's still some college guys who are at the end of the Cressy summer program. And then, so he started August of 2 years ago. We're coming up on 2 years really shortly. So then the fall came, and now Cole's seeing minor leaguers in there. And yeah, I'm pausing to collect my thoughts because it was just a huge growth for him. Absolutely huge growth. And the excitement of, I don't know, seeing a high school kid who's 3-4 years older than him trying to deadlift 400 pounds. You know, seeing a minor leaguer, Morgan McSweeney, who's in the Orioles system. And Morgan is great with the younger kids. Morgan, my understanding is he trained at Cressy when he was younger as well.
Yes.
And he really takes an informal mentor role with all the younger guys there and is great with them. And so Cole's walking out of the gym saying, Dad, I was shooting hoops in between sets, with this guy Morgan, who's a pitcher in the Orioles system. And he's in AAA this year. And so there's that aspect of it. There's definitely an excitement, but he's also seeing how hard these people work. And this is something you talk about a lot. Like, he's seeing what it takes to get there. He's seeing the seriousness with which they approach their workouts. He's seeing the difference between the high school kid who really wants it and the high school kid who's there because his parents want it and he's getting dropped off and his parents book all of the sessions, and he's seeing who's advancing and who's not. When I say advancing, like who's getting bigger, faster, stronger, who's putting more weight on the bar over time and who's spending more time, socializing and not putting as much effort in. And he's seeing the difference in progress between those folks.
What's the difference between Cole when he started 2 years ago from a height and weight perspective to today? Like over these last 2 years, what did Cole start at and where is he at today?
Okay. So I actually pulled this up. I thought you were going to ask this question. So he was 114 pounds 2 years ago, end of June 2 years ago, almost to the day. And he is 158 pounds today.
He's really 160, just hasn't had any pizza lately, but he's approximately 160 pounds. But you can clearly see as a dad, Cole as a middle school baseball player, the size and strength difference between Cole over the last 2 years and his peers that have been baseball centric as far as travel ball, organized baseball, lessons, practice, and not really paying any attention to the weight room. But whereas Cole kind of plays local, plays middle school baseball, and is focused on strength training, the skill sets have definitely begun to change between Cole and his peers.
Definitely. And that was the other part of the puzzle, leaving travel baseball, and our town restarted its junior league. So it's 13 and 14-year-olds. So Cole did that in 7th and 8th grade. So at 13, he went from, 45, 60 at Little League to a full-size field. And he did not miss a beat because of the strength training. He walked out there competing against 14-year-olds. He walked out there competing against kids who were, gosh, there's this kid from Oxford who's like 6'2". And I think Cole was maybe 5'2", 5'3" at the time. So here's this kid towering over him, a foot taller than him. But as you've said, that's real baseball.
I-
That's real baseball. You're going to have the height difference. You're going to have the size difference, and figure it out, kid.
Well, I think the one
Yeah.
thing, and now we have videos, and we have a confident young man. We have
Mhm.
Cole, his hitting skill set, his fielding skill set. We have a determined young man. So I think the big takeaway that I would love for parents to understand, and I would like you to possibly summarize for parents, is we are pre-programmed with a narrative within youth sports, baseball in particular, that travel baseball at these younger ages, especially from 8 to say 14, is a necessity. It's a part
Mhm.
of the process. When in reality, if we're looking to the high school and college levels of sport, we're hearing words like development, physicality, skill set refinement. And if parents are truly looking, and I think you can attest to this, and I would love for you to wrap that up. Spending the years of 12 to 15 focusing on skill set development, focusing on strength, nutrition, sleep habits, preparing your body for the high school experience is going to pay dividends for a greater period of time, allowing you to play possibly beyond high school. But more importantly, when Cole hits the ground as a high school freshman, he is going to have a similar physique or strength profile with some of his older peers, the sophomores and the juniors, and he will then be confident and prepared to compete at the high school level. Would you share that sentiment as far as if we're trying to get parents to understand where to spend time and resources between the ages of 12 and 15?
Yeah, 100%. I saw it walking out of middle school tryouts this year because they're up at the high school. So all the JV kids are coming out at the same time that the eighth graders are coming out from their tryouts. Cole physically looked like one of the high schoolers. He did physically, right now, and I'll try to be brief. So like when you talk about the skill set development in town baseball versus travel ball, what are travel ball owners doing? Like, there is a focus on wins, and there's a focus on slotting kids into their best positional fit at that time because wins at that age group means more people sign up for their program, right? In town ball, Cole played everywhere. Cole learned catcher last year, right? There were 17 kids who signed up for the town ball team, and coach said, hey, pitchers and catchers are going to play more. Everybody else is on a rotation because we can't play 17 every game. So Cole said, Dad, I want to learn catcher, right? I don't think that would have happened in travel ball. I think he still would have been second base and outfield, and he wouldn't have been learning a new position. So he learned catcher because he was in town ball. Because he was doing his skill sets on his own and wasn't relying on repetitions in practice or repetitions from lessons. When he was on the middle school team this year, he started 3 games at catcher, 2 at third base, and 2 at corner outfield. And nobody else on the team had that versatility because they'd all been playing the same positions for 2, 3, 4 years. He has friends who haven't seen infield in 3 years. He has friends who haven't seen the outfield in 2, 3 years. And Cole is still playing catcher, infield, and outfield in town ball. So there's that aspect of it too, where there's this position versatility. He's seeing the field from different perspectives. So I think there's that part of the baseball skill set that we don't really, I know I didn't think about. And I mentioned that to other travel ball parents. I was just talking with a parent yesterday, and it was the nod and the knowing smile of, yep, I wish my kid got to do more than just pitch and play infield. Wish my kid got more opportunities elsewhere. And then when you talk about the physicality, you connected us with the American Legion team in town. He was a bat boy last year. He asked the head coach, hey, this year, can I be a bullpen catcher? Again, physically, the thickness of his body compares to these 16, 17, 18-year-old boys. Height-wise is not there, right?
It'll
But the
come.
thickness, it'll come. It'll come. He's growing. He's in a growth spurt right now. But the thickness of his body is there. I mean, this is a kid who was deadlifting 300 pounds in the off season. And he's fast and he's powerful and he's strong. And
He's not intimidated by the older boys anymore.
he's not. He's not at all. I mean, he caught a bullpen for college freshmen. And he said he could handle the speed. The breaking balls are tougher, and he's going to learn. He's and he says that to the guys. Says, I can handle your speed, but like your change-ups actually move. They're not just slower; they actually move. And your sliders break a lot more than an 8th grader's sliders do.
Well, that's another part of this narrative that nobody wants to discuss, and I think is an integral part of this entire process, is that travel ball, the business model of 12U, 13U, 14U, and there's no interaction with older peers. But yet when you get to middle school and obviously at high school, a freshman is going to interact with a senior, and there's going to be an age difference there. And this is something, a lot of what Cole has learned organically is going to benefit him as a high school student because, one, he's going to have played and practiced with older athletes, stronger athletes, more gifted athletes. He sees it, he's feeling it, he's learning it, he's absorbing it. So part of this growth from 13 to 15 is this ability to physically see these older athletes. How do they work out? How do they prepare their bodies? How are they learning and developing their skill sets? And then he immerses himself and took the advantage of being part of an American Legion program and seeing what it looks like, and kind of now getting that confidence to say, okay, I'm going to step into this party and be an active participant. I'm going to catch these bullpens. So now when he goes to high school, you need me to catch, I'll catch your varsity guys. So in light of everything that has gone on for the last 2 years, specifically with Cole, would you say he is probably better prepared mentally, obviously physically, to now go to high school as a confident student athlete? I'm not talking about making a varsity roster or being an active, getting between, but he is very confident now that he will have the ability physically and mentally to compete with those older boys when he steps foot into high school next fall.
100%. Absolutely 100%. And I think if we had stayed in this step-by-step model, you call it the hamster wheel, he wouldn't have learned that stuff. And something I've talked with you about a lot is when I was growing up, when you were growing up, you had that influence of the older kids. I swam. I was in Boy Scouts. We always had that example of there's that older boy, that 16, 17-year-old boy who handles himself maturely, is responsible for his own decisions, for his own actions, just all the things you want a young man to develop into. Truly, all the things you want a young man to develop into, that sense of personal responsibility and respect for those around him. And we grew up with that. Well, you put somebody in a year-by-year model, you're taking that away. They're only getting that from coach. They're not getting it from older boys. And that's what he's getting from American Legion. He's seeing how those boys and young men, because we're talking about some of them 18, 19 years old, they're young men. And he's seeing how they handle themselves, and he's learning he can interact with them. So yeah, 100%. He's going to walk into high school. The baseball skills might still be developing, but in terms of the emotional maturity and his confidence and his ability to talk with them and be around them and communicate with them, just be part of that team, he'll be fine.
I think that this has been great. I think being able to share this with parents of 12 to 15-year-olds. It will be great. If you have any questions you'd like for Mark or I to answer, please comment below. Send us your email at beedebaseball.com. We'll definitely be able to answer those. We're going to continue to do dialogues like this, as Cole gets older, but more importantly, we're going to talk to parents of that 8 to 12-year-old age group, and then the 12 to 15-year-old age group, and really start to talk about not only skill set development, drills, and things of that nature, but the strength, the nutrition, all of the things that really parents are not made aware of or have enough access to. We're going to provide you the access at Beede Baseball. So, Mark, thanks again. I really appreciate it. I really wanted to get this out because a lot of parents this time of year talking about Little League All-Stars, and I knew you were the man to go to talk about this topic. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your schedule today.
Yep. Thank you, Walter. Yeah, just get a broomstick and wiffle balls.
Broomstick, lima beans, and a rubber
Lima
ball
beans.
or a pinky ball, as I call it. That's all you need. Thanks, Mark.